Hi everyone, I'm Craig Houston, I'm the lead writer at Treyarch. As we prepare to move into Season 6 and the finale of the Black Ops Cold War zombie story, we thought it might be nice to take a little look back at where we've come from and learn how we got to where we are now. When we kicked off the Dark Aether story with the launch of Black Ops Cold War, our initial map, Die Maschine, was really the one that showed how this story had come to be. It delved into Nazi experiments from the end of World War II, where they hoped to turn the tide of the war by harnessing the powers of a cyclotron.
Commencing cyclotron test run number 12. Dr. Kurtz, please proceed.
Unfortunately for them, what they actually succeeded in doing was ripping a hole into a dimension known as the Dark Aether.
Kurtz, cut the powers!
When the Red Army discovered what the Nazis had been doing with the particle accelerator, they took steps to try and seal the rift. And that meant someone had to be volunteered to go inside and seal it up from the inside.
How can I be of service, Comrade Lazarev?
There is a machine I need you to deactivate. Understood?
Da.
Congratulations, товарищ! You're going to be a hero of the Soviet Union.
As players explored Die Maschine, they were introduced to a new cast of characters who would be guiding them, specifically the Requiem team, led by Grigory Weaver and assisted by Major Carver, Dr. Strauss and Dr. Gray. As time progressed, we also learned a lot more about our bitter rivals, a Soviet-led unit known as Omega Group. As time went on, we would learn more about their hierarchy too, most notably a familiar face from Black Ops 1, Kravchenko. As we'd seen in Die Maschine, Samantha Maxis was determined to stay in the field and continue her own investigations.
You have to turn yourself in. The CIA can protect you. I can protect you.
I can't do that, Weaver. The Omega Group have plans for the Outbreak zones.
And this is something that led us on to our next map, which was Firebase C.
Requiem, welcome to Vietnam.
As players progressed through the Firebase C map, they worked with Ravenov, a former Omega Group soldier who had decided that he couldn't stomach what they were doing and maybe perhaps seek out new allies. Amongst those allies was Agent Maxis herself.
I am not a traitor to my country. Omega are not who we are.
And it was his intel that led her to Firebase C, where, sadly, she ran afoul of another new character, Dr. Peck.
Maxis is a poor, little, lost girl. No one, least of all you, can bring her back.
Given her defiance and refusal to cooperate with Dr. Peck, he threw her into the Dark Aether.
No one is coming for you because no one cares about you. From dust you are, and to dust you will return.
Don't know how long I've been waiting for an answer, but I am here, and I have been waiting for a long time.
Upon Maxis' return, Ravenov warned us that Omega Group were undertaking operations in the Ural Mountains, something that would become very important as the story progressed. We were also introduced to Omega Group's leader, Kravchenko, who was not at all pleased with Peck's failure, nor was another senior member of Omega staff, Valentina. So, as we took our operations to the Ural Mountains, we introduced a brand new mode for zombies, which was Outbreak. The game kind of opened up in a way that isn't always possible with round-based maps. Narratively, Outbreak was a lot of fun because this was the first time really that Requiem had gone on the offensive. They undertook Operation Threshold, a series of experiments led by the different members of the Requiem cast with their own specialities to understand the Dark Aether, understand the enemy, and to obviously gain an upper hand against Omega. Requiem began to get more communications from Ravenov. Essentially, Ravenov and Maxis were going behind Weaver's back. And this led us to a whole mission involving a Russian program called Operacja Inversia. As players moved through this mission, they discovered that the Omega Group had built something called the Reality Inversion Warheads.
This power is too dangerous for either Omega or Requiem to possess. So I say, we dump them in the middle of the Pacific.
Following the events of Operacja Inversia, players got the opportunity to undertake another main quest, this time Operation Excision.
Been a long time, Weaver.
Ravenoff. You've got some balls using the Slion after what you and Sam did.
Been contacted by a group of Omega scientists. They wish to defect.
Unfortunately, as we discovered at the end of that main quest, the whole thing was a trap and the strike team were captured by Kravchenko and Omega.
To lure Requiem's so-called elite strike team into a trap. Fortunately, crashing helicopters is easy.
Requiem belongs to me now.
After the players had worked with Ravenoff and Maxis in Operatia Inversia, we learned that Maxis has got herself in a little bit of trouble, going behind Weaver's back, but perhaps more importantly, going behind the Director's back.
Hey! Take your hands off me!
You're to undergo some additional testing.
Why are you doing this?
Orders from the Director.
Maxis is to be taken to a secure facility known as Block 8, where she will undergo certain experiments. Following the disaster that was Operation Excision and the subsequent capture by Omega Group of the strike team, we moved to Toten. And this time we're going to be working under the command of Omega Group themselves.
I have work for them in Berlin. A certain member of our organization has gone to ground recently. I'm sure you've noticed their absence. I believe they are scheming against us.
Valentina has actually been seeking to enact a plan that is laying dormant from the end of World War II, which was to return a long-forgotten Nazi army who have essentially been housed in the Dark Aether for decades.
Someone had to free their army. My father chose me to complete that mission. No! It is not possible!
After defeating Valentina and her Nazi army, players escape with help from a rather unexpected source. A portal opens that allows them to teleport right back to Requiem HQ, and it becomes clear that Samantha Maxis is growing in power. Throughout Season 5's intel, we learn more of the experiments that she's undergone with the Director.
You going to electrocute me again?
I really hope it doesn't come to that, but I know what you're capable of. I just want to see it for myself.
We learn more about exactly how the Dark Aether has changed her, and more about what that could potentially mean for the future and Season 6. We also learn more about an entity in the Dark Aether known as the Forsaken. Were this creature to make it into our world, it would probably mean the end of life as we know it. One of the things that we learned in Toten was that, in reality, Omega Group were actually building the reality inversion warheads to destroy the Forsaken. So that's something we kind of messed up. So now they've developed a new plan. They believe they can bring it into our world and perhaps harness its powers as the ultimate weapon.
The Forsaken? A solution is necessary. It must be dealt with.
Colonel, there has been a change of plan, Gorif. Peck and I are developing a new solution for the Forsaken. Rest assured, if it is successful, it will mean salvation for the Soviet Union. We will be heralded as heroes.
Amongst the many pieces of intel that we found in Outbreak, we learned more about a character called Zykov, who was actually the poor Red Army soldier who went into the cyclotron back in World War II to seal it up, and he's been trapped in the Dark Aether for a very long time, and he wants to get out. Now aware of Omega's plans for the Forsaken, Requiem need all the allies they can get.
Zykov. He may be the only one who truly knows the Forsaken.
Are we suggesting we somehow break this lost Russian out of the Dark Aether?
Poor bastard's been in there longer than anyone.
He promises them that if they can release him from his prison, he might be the deciding factor in overcoming both the Forsaken and Omega. As we move into the climax of Season 6, we're going to finally focus on Omega Group's final operation, Operatia Izbavitelj. This map takes place in a facsimile of an American town, something that the Soviets and Omega Group have been using for many years for training purposes. This location is unique because Omega Group have identified this as the specific place where the veil between our world and that of the Dark Aether is at its thinnest, and that's why they believe they can extract the Forsaken. Well, this final ground-based zombies map represents the climax of the Black Ops Cold War zombies story. It's not the end of the Dark Aether story. Eagle-eyed or eagle-eared players might have noticed that we've been sowing the seeds of some other things that also harken back to World War II. The Dark Aether story will continue and expand in Call of Duty Vanguard.